This is the Marketing for Learning podcast, the only podcast in the world committed to enabling and empowering the capabilities of L&D through marketing. It's quite possibly the best podcast you'll ever listen to today. Hello everybody. Welcome back to the Marketing for Learning podcast. I'm really excited today because I have a kind of a different episode for you. So rather than Han or I dropping marketing bombs and teaching you how to think more like a marketer, I wanted to try something a little bit different. So what I'm going to do today is read you a speech that Steve Jobs did in 1997. He was just going to market with the Think Different campaign, and he talks really deeply about Apple as a business, their positioning in the market, and what they have to do from a marketing perspective to actually truly connect with their audiences. I find it hugely inspirational every time I listen to it, and I did try and put the audio in the podcast first because I feel like I'm going to, do Steve an injustice. He was an excellent orator. However, the audio quality is not great because it was 1997. So I'm going to give it a go at reading it, and I hope you find it inspirational. It always makes me stop, listen, and think. So here's to you, Steve. To me, marketing is about values. This is a very complicated world. This is a very noisy world, and we're not going to get a chance to get people to remember much about us. No company is. And so we have to be really clear on what we want them to know about us. Now, Apple, fortunately, is one of the half a dozen best brands in the whole wide world. Right up there with Nike, Disney, Coke, Sony. It is one of the greats of the greats, not just in this country, but all around the world. But even a great brand needs investment and caring if it's going to retain its relevance and vitality. The Apple brand has clearly suffered from neglect in this area in the last few years, and we need to bring it back. The way to do that is not to talk about the T's and C's. It's not to talk about bits and megahertz. It's not to talk about why we're better than Windows. The dairy industry tried for 20 years to convince you that milk was good for you. It's a lie, but they tried anyway. And the sales were going down. And then they tried Got Milk, and the sales went up. Got Milk wasn't even talking about the product. It focuses actually on the absence of the product. And for those of you that don't live in America, I'll send a link to the Got Milk ads. But the best example of all, and one of the greatest jobs of marketing that the universe has ever seen, is Nike. Remember, Nike sells a commodity. They sell shoes. And yet, when you think of Nike, you feel something different than a shoe company. In their ads, as you know, they don't ever talk about their products. They don't ever tell you about the air soles and why their air soles are better than Reebok's. What does Nike do in their advertising? They honor great athletes and they honor great athletics. That's who they are. That's what they are about. Apple spends a fortune on advertising. You'd never know it. You'd never know it. So when I got here, Apple had just fired their agency, and there was a competition with 23 agencies that, 4 years from now, we'd pick one. And we blew that up and we hired Chat Day. This was the ad agency that I was fortunate enough to work with years ago, and we created some award-winning work, including the commercial voted the best ad ever made in 1984 by advertising professionals. And we started working about 8 weeks ago. And the question we asked was, our customers want to know, who is Apple and what is it that we stand for? Where do we fit in this world? And what we're about isn't making boxes for people to get their jobs done, although we do that well. We actually do that better than almost anybody in most cases. But Apple is about something more than that. Apple, at the core, its core values is that we believe that people with passion can change the world for the better. That's what we believe. And we have had the opportunity to work with people like that. We've had the opportunity to work with people like you, with software developers, with customers who have done it in some big ways and some small ways. And we believe that in this world, people can change it for the better. And that those people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones that actually do. And so what we're going to do in our first brand marketing campaign in several years is to get back to that core value. A lot of things have changed. The market is a totally different place than where it was a decade ago, and Apple is totally different. And Apple's place in it is totally different. And believe me, the products and the distribution strategy and the manufacturing are totally different, and we understand that. But values and core values, those things shouldn't change. The things that Apple believed in at its very core are the same things that Apple really stands for today. And so we wanted to find a way to communicate this. And what we have is something that I am very moved by. It honors those people who have changed the world. Some of them are living, some of them are not. But the ones that aren't, as you'll see, you'll know that if they ever used a computer, it would have been a Mac. And the theme of the campaign is Think Different. It's honoring the people who think different and who move this world forward. And it's what we are about. And it touches the soul of the company. So I'm going to go ahead and roll it, and I hope that you feel the same way about it that I do.
Here's to the crazy ones. The misfits. The rebels. The troublemakers. The round pegs in the square holes. The ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. But the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Wow. Now, obviously the ad sounds a little bit dated now. It is quite old. But what Steve says in that speech is so pertinent. It aligns with everything that we have told you in this podcast. We cannot focus on products and features. We have to focus on our audience. We have to understand what it is that we offer to them that's going to connect with them. This is why we recommend you do value proposition canvases. This is why you need a deeper understanding of your audiences through personas. Job titles don't tell us a lot about who they are. Your e-learning does not communicate the values of your L&D function. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from this short session with me today, it's that we have to be focused on our people and the value we add to them in everything that we do. We need to know who we are so that we can effectively communicate it to others. So we have to do some introspection before we can amplify our own voice. Thanks so much for tuning in. I really hope you've enjoyed this slightly different podcast. I've really enjoyed recording it. I'll be back soon, guys. Bye!